So welcome to the live Tech PD today. My name is Kearney Kelly. Today is Wednesday, and today's topics are going to be Google Drive and Docs. So we're going to talk about setting up your Google Drive, what that looks like, managing it. It's really easy for Google Drive to get overwhelming. So what we're going to go through is step-by-step process of what you might do to kind of organize it and make it a little bit more useful for you. Before we do that, a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to make sure you sign into attendance. So I'm going to do a screen share here. Cut that. So that you can see kind of what we're talking about. So if you are in rsu19.info, I've been asked by administration to keep track of people that are attending as far as attending live. Now, somebody asked me if you're able to join later. You are able to watch all of these videos later on. They're all recorded, but this is just live attendance for this time period, from this 1 to 2 time period. So if you do need to sign in for attendance, if you go to rsu19.info, that'll bring you to a page like this, and you can scroll down. And you'll see here's the links here. These are all the old show notes, so everything that you want to see. If you want to see yesterday's information, we're here today on April Fool's Day. I did play a nice prank this morning on my son, so that was worth it, worth its weight in gold right there. But if you scroll down a little bit, across the bottom, you'll see all the dates of this spreadsheet here. And this is each of the topics for every single day. So things that you can, if you want to reference or look back and see what we talked about that day or a link we shared, that's all there. If you keep scrolling down a little bit more, you'll see here the Tech PD sign-in and also questions and comments. So if I come in here and put my name and submit, this works just like it has been for attendance. We've been doing this the last week or two, so nothing's changed there. The only difference is that they are asking people to sign in because they're going to keep track of that information. So if you would sign that in, that would be great. Also, if you are from a different district, if you're from another school, and you're interested in creating a version of this, and people have asked me from other districts about creating a sign-in that would record, information about them. I'm going to be covering that on Friday. This Friday, we're going to be doing Google Forms. As we're going more and more virtual, it's really important that we have ways we can record, have students fill things out and collect that information and be able to respond to them. So a great way to do that is a Google form and a Google spreadsheet. And so Friday's topic is going to be all about that. And as I mentioned earlier, if you want to, have any questions before that, if I click back up here on this tab right here, this is, this will tell you the upcoming topics. I will probably do topics by the week. So Friday, next Monday, I'll do the week's worth of topics coming up, so you kind of have a little bit of idea. And if you have suggestions, if you're interested in adding topics or requesting something specifically, just scroll down here in questions and comments. Please feel free to ask anything, and that's what we will do first. So speaking of that, let's look right here. Let's see. Switch back real quickly. Okay, so let's look through the questions that came up from the last couple days, from yesterday and so forth. The first one, where is yesterday's video? There was a little bit of a glitch uploading yesterday's video. I will have it probably tonight. It didn't get uploaded last night because there was a little bit of a snafu tech thing. So I will make sure that gets uploaded tonight. So if you're looking for yesterday's video that was on the topic of Google Slides as a site, then I will have that up hopefully by tonight, if not by tomorrow. Also, asking about creating sites. If you are a K-4 teacher or maybe a literacy coach or whatever your role is, if you let me know, there are templates already created and links already done. So you should have been shared a document already. You can just look for that. Look for, in your Google Drive shared from me, from K. Kelly. And if it's not there, let me know and we can make sure that gets on the list. Also, recording Google Meet. So something that I figured out the other day, I thought this was interesting. As I mentioned, we are recording all of these as we go through. We're recording all of these videos, and I want to make sure I hit record. I think I did, but I want to make sure I did. Yes, I did. And so the reason why that's useful and why it's important is that when you're done, that recording goes in a Google Drive folder in your Google Drive called Meet Recordings. Cool. So it has an MP4 video. There's a video right there, and you can share it. You can save it. You can do what you want with it. All the chat is also recorded as a Google Doc right next to it. So it's saved. It's saved timestamp. So it's saved the date and the time, that kind of stuff, right there. And so the Google Doc with the chat is built right in. That's really super handy. You can have both things right together. So if you're looking back and had an interest, I was curious in seeing the chat at the time, and maybe there's a comment or by students or whatever you want, that's all stored automatically. And just a reminder, somebody asked about the privacy issues, or as far as that goes, the same rules apply. If you have a student that does not have internet access, that's not allowed to be online, have their picture taken, all that kind of stuff you would typically use in a classroom, the same rules apply here. So what I would say to that is, if you're not sure, email your administration. In RSU 19, we're right now we're working on creating that list of students that we know are not allowed to be online. And the other factor there, honestly, is now it's probably fewer than ever, in the sense that more and more parents are probably allowing them to get online and connect with their teachers and their other students. So that's that. Another question was, if we need an extra bit of tutorial, will there be time for extra help? As much as possible. As you can imagine, we're super stretched right now as far as time goes. But this is what I would say, a couple things. Reach out to another teacher. You absolutely can email us, and if we have a chance to respond to you, we meaning the tech department here, myself and Josh and Daniel and Sue and Patty, all these guys, if we can help you, we will. If it's something that you can find, we might just send you a link. You know, like if you're Googling, how do I create a Google Hangout? We might send you a link to a video that shows you those steps. I'm working with some of my students, my high school students right now. As many of you know, throughout my time here at RSU 19, I've taken students and had them provide tech support for educators around the country and around the world. And part of that role has been for them to have an opportunity to learn, to teach other people, to get to travel, all these different opportunities, all these different components of that. So that's going to continue. I met with some of my students this week, and they are, doing the same thing we're doing. They're at home, they're on, Hangouts, they're on video calls. And so I asked them about helping other teachers. And so if it's something that I can connect you with, another student that's able to help you, either do a live stream like this, or maybe create a tutorial, we will do that. The only thing I would say to that is the same thing I would say to my students. If it's something that you can Google and you can kind of work your way through and kind of have take a stab at it, you're going to be much better off. Because if I show you how to do it once, and then I have to show you again the next time, you're not going to internalize it, right? Just like those kids. So if it's something that you can search initially and find out what that topic is and find out what the answer is, then you'll be better off long term. So we are working on developing a repository, a whole library of different little video tutorials on all kinds of things, like the stuff we're talking about. And so these would be little, short, 1 minute, 30-second, maybe a minute and a half, bite-sized chunks on specific topics, like how do I do X, and then walk you through those steps. If you need something more than that, if that's not going to help you walking through those pieces, let me know. Again, we'll see if we can figure something out. So I really appreciate the questions and the comments. This looks really good. As I mentioned, make sure you've signed in to attendance today. Administration is going to double down and make sure we keep track of that and looking for who is attending which things. If you scroll down on the RSU19.info, I moved the link down a little bit only because I wanted the show notes up there nice and big, and we moved the attendance link and the other link right below that. So if you haven't seen that yet. All right, let's dive into today's topic. So what we're going to talk about today is Google Drive. Most of us, if you've been doing online stuff for quite a while, you probably live in your Google Drive. It's probably the most used tool, for lack of a better word, in that suite and all the different Google tools. Maybe besides Gmail, but really Google Drive is where everything lives. So let me do a quick screen share here. And so I'm going to go back to my account here, the kind of my dummy account that we've used before for different purposes. Over here. So if I want to find my Google Drive, I haven't signed in before. If I want to get to it quickly, I can go up here in the upper right-hand corner, see this little waffle here, the little gray waffle right there, Drive. And pull it up. I can find my notes here, right there. All right. So we're going to go through, if you've never had Drive before, the first time you sign into it, it will tell you something to the effect of, hey, let's walk you through step by step, and it's got a little guided thing. So I clicked that. So we've started out a little bit. We have some stuff in here to play with. But we're going to go through as if you've never been in here before. Where do I start? I'm going to start upper left, kind of top to bottom here. So the first button in the upper left is my new button right here. I click on that. So these are the things that I can create right in my Google Drive. Now you could think of Google Drive as kind of like your hard drive on your computer you've had before. But its difference is it's web-based. That means there's nothing on your computer itself. This is looking at a web page. You're storing all of your information here in the cloud. Now with an EDU account, a school account, which is what you have, you're able to, there's no limit as far as the size goes. So you're able to store all kinds of files, upload things, store it there, share it, and so forth. If you have your regular personal Gmail account, there is a limit. I believe the last time I checked, it was a 25 gig limit, which is quite a bit, but that's just for storing files. If you create a new Google Doc or a new Google Slideshow, that doesn't go towards that 25 gig limit. It's really just for uploading and storing files themselves there. It's almost like a portable hard drive, just in the cloud. So first thing up here, if I see my click on new in the upper left-hand corner, folder. So I'm clicking create a new folder. We'll call this, let's see, work. And here's my folder right here. I can double click in it. One thing about this main screen here, I know it gets really, really cluttered and you can see all kinds of stuff here. I'm going to show you how to kind of help with that a little bit, how to make that a little bit easier to manage. The first thing here, here's the folder I just created. Now, if I right click on that folder, I can change the color. And this just helps me so that I can organize things better. It doesn't affect the work inside of it. It doesn't affect it. Nobody else will see it that color. It just changes it on that actual folder for you. So if you want to organize things that way, it makes it a little bit easier. The other thing you can do here, if I want to view this in different manners, so right now I'm looking at this view as kind of a list, but if I want to space it out to see them as little icons, in the upper right here, you'll see this little grid, and I can click on that, and that will change it from lists. And now I can kind of see what's going on inside of it. So I can see documents and slideshows and all kinds of stuff we've been working on. So here's my work folder again. See that? I'm going to double click on it. And now I'm going to go into it. Now I don't have anything in there right now, but here's a folder called work. Okay. So what kind of things I can do with this? I can click on that. Now I already changed the color. I can rename it, of course. I can also get a shareable link or share it. And what that means is you could have a shared folder with another teacher, or maybe with something else, that is anything you put inside of that will automatically be shared with that person. So you don't have to share items one by one. You can just share them all at once. That's super helpful. The other thing you could do too, if I click share here, not only could I share with one person, so I'm going to share with one account, and I'll use my own account here. This will notify them, hey, you just got a shared folder from Stuart Dent. Right here, the little pencil, I can change it to, can they do everything? Can they organize it? Can they add? Can they edit? Or can they just view it? Generally speaking, you have two main ways to share anything in Google Drive, either folders or documents or whatever it is. You can either view only, they can just see it, or you can share it with somebody to be able to edit it. Okay? The view only also, you might be able to share with one person to view. You can also share things publicly. Again, they wouldn't be able to edit them, but you could share a folder, say, publicly, that other people could view, they can look at, but they couldn't actually change anything inside of it. And so we'll show you how to do that as well. So I'm going to share this other account to be able to edit it. I'm going to click send. Let me actually, hang on, let me click advanced here on the bottom right. So here are my options here. This is the link to that folder. Right now it's private. Only I can access it, and I'm going to allow this person right here to be able to access it. Okay, so I'll send that. And now these two accounts, I'm the owner, and this account has the permission, my other account has permission to be able to edit the files inside of it. You also notice here you can change ownership. Why you'd want to do that, we have to do things, be around things like if you, it used to be when we were leaving, when you were actually leaving the actual district, you would be able to, you'd have to like share ownership if you had a file that you wanted to make sure that everybody else had, and it wasn't under your account. Now we use Team Drives for that, and I'll explain what that is. So it's a little bit different than it was before. You can also set an expiration date. So if you had work that you were doing and you wanted to change this, and you want to have it so that it wouldn't go for, oops, I had a question here about being blurry. Let me fix that real quick here, the blurriness. I'll fix how fuzzy it is. All right, let's try that. There we go. Hopefully that's not quite as blurry. See if that comes through a little better. All right. Can everybody see my screen? Wonderful. Excellent. So I'm just going to jump back one step and show you how I got here. I was in my folder. I was in this new folder I just created. I just clicked new folder. and I clicked on the folder little pull down beside it and went to share. So sharing is a huge part of all the stuff in Google Drive as far as, you know, sharing all the different aspects of it. It's really, really important. So I can click advance here. Now I can share with an individual person. So I have access to it and this other account has access to it. 2 people, great. I can also invite many people through here. I can change this. So this is my off of just one, certain people can see it. And then if I scroll up here and the next one up, it says anyone at RSU19 with the link. That means that if I could share somebody, I could email them the link to it, they would be able to view only. Okay, so
hey, Karen, we can't see your
it's
screen.
not it is technically public in the sense they would have to have the link to be able to open it. But if they didn't have the link, they wouldn't be able to get to it. The next one, this is more open, whereas anyone at RSU19 could find an access, so they could Google it and look in their drives, and if it's shared with everybody, they would be able to find it. Finally, anyone the link can access it. That means anybody in the world. So you could publish that. They wouldn't have to have a sign-in. They could still only view in this case, or you could change it to add and edit and so forth if you wanted to. And the last one is public on the web. Now, again, all that means is the viewer would not have to have a account. They would just, all they'd have to do is look at it. They click on the link and pull it up, and there they'd see the stuff inside of it. This is beneficial. If you have certain documents you would want mom and dad to be able to see, you know, so parents be able to look easily. So let's say the document is going to hand out to the students might be able to edit it, but the parents themselves will be able to see it. You can manage that. So if I had a public folder, for example, if I had a website and I wanted any documents that I put to this certain website to easily be public, I would put them in this folder. I'd make one folder called public work. I'd be very clear about how I titled it. And then I would make it public so that now anything I add into this folder right now, anything that I share in here, will automatically be public. I don't have to reshare it every time, every different item I put in here. Now, again, I want to be very clear about labeling that so I know. So I'm going to rename this. Click on this link up here, go down to rename, and call this public work. So I know that I have shared this publicly. Now, if I create a new document in here, new doc, yep, it's telling me, hey, you're creating and sharing it in this folder. Yep, that's what I want to do. This is, by default, this document will be publicly shared. Again, it doesn't mean that somebody's going to stumble across it. You would still probably have to put a link to it where they can see it. This is a publicly shared doc. If I could type. There we go. All right. So without me really doing anything, it's already, I know it's in this folder, and therefore I know that entire folder has been shared publicly. So let's jump back to my drive. So I'm going back one here, and we'll see there's my folder again. I renamed it. You also notice how the folder icon itself now has a little, looks like a little icon of a person on it. And the reason why, the benefit of that is that's showing you, hey, by the way, this one is public. It's shared with other people. That little icon doesn't by default mean that it's public. It just means that it is shared at least with one other person. And so unlike these other folders, which aren't shared with anybody else. All right, that was a new folder. The next link that we have here is a file upload. So if you had a file on your computer that you just wanted to store, you want to upload it. Now, for a long time, when we were transitioning from, say, Windows PCs like laptops or even Mac laptops into Google World, into the Google Docs and Drive and all that kind of stuff, this was the way you'd upload things. So if I had a file, on my desktop, let's say it's a Word document, I could click New, File Upload, and upload it. Now, it will ask you, it will say, hey, do you want me to convert this Word document and turn it into a Google Doc? Do you want to keep it as a file, as a Word document, or do you want to do something else? And so the pros and cons of that, when you convert a document, let's say like a Word doc, into Google Drive, the formatting of it can get very messed up. It really depends on how much formatting comes with the original document. If it's got tables and pictures and all kinds of cool stuff, then when it transitions it, it would probably mess up all the formatting. If it's mostly just text, it will probably be fine. So that's why it's you want to think about what it is. Now, if you upload it as a Word doc and keep it as a Word doc, so just say, no, I don't want you to convert it, that's cool. It actually will even show it to you, and you could re-download that on a different computer, and you could share that with somebody. The only drawback of that in that case, unless they will need to have Word for them to open it, right? So if they have a file they uploaded and you send it to them and they don't have that program to run it, they won't be able to see it. So that's the issue there. One other thing we did when we were when I recommend when I convert people, they're going from a PC or a laptop or a desktop or a computer that has things on their desktop or on their computer they want to upload directly. What I recommend is create a folder in that computer, call it upload to Google Drive or something like that. Put all the files that you want to upload. Let's say it's a bunch of files. You have to do it one by one. You can do it all at once. And then click on New Folder Upload. And this will allow you to upload an entire folder at once. So it'll take a little while. It obviously depends on how much stuff is in there. But that's the easiest way to do that, is on your existing computer, make a folder, call it Uploaded Drive folder, put everything inside of that at once. Now, docs, sheets, and slides. If I want to create a new Google Doc, and I'm pretty sure probably you all have done this before, so create a new Google Doc, click here, and we'll go through, we won't do this right now, but these are the main three that we use quite a bit for all kinds of different stuff. If I click more, there are even more options. Here's a Google Form, Drawing, Maps, Sites, and I have App Script, and I have some other things on here. We covered this, I think it was last Thursday, but we covered this last week talking about Google Drive apps, these little programs that you can connect to Google Drive. So if I want to add one, I'm going to click New, More, scroll down. Oops, try that again. More, scroll down here, and I see Connect More Apps. So these are little programs. Now, a lot of them are existing programs that are also all out there. So for example, SketchUp's a good example. SketchUp is its own program that you can just go right to My SketchUp and app.com, and you can use it itself. The benefit of connecting it to your Drive, and especially for students, means that when they save their work, because this is a web-based app, when they save their work, it will automatically save to their Google Drive. Now, if you're on a Chromebook or most machines, that's probably what you want to do. And there's all kinds of different programs. Here's Screencastify right there. Now, Screencastify, we've already added the extension. But I could add that here, too, as a Google Drive add-on. Continue. When these installation windows pop up, it will say, hey, you need permission. What they're saying is it okay for us to save the work that you're asking us to do onto your Google Drive? They do need permission for that. So that's important. I'm going to say yes, continue, allow. Now, for those of you who are saying, hey, Kern, I already have done that. I have, before we add the Screencastify extension, do I need to do it again? No, you don't have to. This is built right into Google Drive. They're both kind of two ways to do the same thing, more or less. So right here, Screencastify Video Editor is the default app for files that can open. That means when I double click on a video file, what do I want to do? Do I want Screencastify to open? I can choose that, yes or no. I'll show you where to edit those in a minute, as far as if you want to change what default app opens for which file you click. I'm going to click OK, click Done, and Done. So that means now if I double click on a video file, which I do have one in here somewhere, you would be able to, it would go directly to Screencastify. Cool. All right, so coming down the list here. So we did new, priority. Priority is just like it sounds like. It tries to think for you. Google tries to make its best guess of what you think you want at the top of your list. So I click got it. Which things do I need faster? Sure. It thinks that I've used this document the most. I just opened, so this is the first one I would want. That's totally up to you if you want to use that or not. That's a personal preference. It doesn't affect anything else. It's just what it looks like. We're going to talk about workspaces in a second, so I'm going to skip that for right now. If I keep coming down here to My Drive. Now, this is the biggie. This is the one where all your stuff is really stored. Here's My Drive. Now, at the top, you probably have this thing called Quick Access. These are just the most recent things that you made. You just created a new document or a new folder. Underneath here, now here are my folders. Again, if you don't like this format, what it looks like, if I click the little grid up here in the upper right, it will list view. It's the same information, it's just listed differently. So depending on what your needs are, I can choose any of these up at the top, so I can organize it by name. Right here, I can organize by last modified. Somebody asked about how do I find the folders. Over here on the left side, notice this little triangle here beside My Drive. If I click on My Drive, these folders will appear. Well, if I create a folder right now, it will be in that list. If I go into a folder, let's say I go to my public work folder we just made, and if I create a new folder in this, so this is my super secret folder, and it really isn't very secret. This is a folder inside of a folder, just like it sounds like. You'll notice here now that this little triangle to the left side of public work, now here's a new folder inside of that. And so you can have nested folders inside of each other. Very similar to what you'd have if you used, Google, if you used your file explorer before on a PC or a Mac or something like that, or Finder on a Mac. Same idea. Some of the folders that you're going to automatically have. Okay, so if you have created a Google Classroom, and hopefully most, if not all of you have done that, by default, it creates a folder for you called the Classroom. It just does that. Please don't delete that or rename it or change it. Just leave it right where it is. You can, if you want to, color it differently. If I right-click here, I can change the color just because if I want to, I don't know, I want this one to be blue for some reason. You can, just for looks, really, cosmetics, changing. But I can click on this little triangle here and look inside of that, and these are the courses that I've created inside of that. And you notice even in here and under topics, this has even created subfolders for me that's put stuff inside of it. So this is doing this organization for me, not only for you as the teacher, but also any student that you have. If a student joins a Google Classroom, it creates this same folder for them and organizes it for them. That's why it's so important when we think about naming our units and our assignments and our classes, because if a student has 5 or 6 classes called English, well, that's okay. But if it says, 2020 freshman English, whatever, creative writing, whatever that information is, the more detailed there, the better. So it distinguishes it for the student from folder to folder, rather than just be all called the same thing. They're all called math, or they're all called, ELA or something like that. So if we're mindful about what we title, not only are the names of our documents, but also the names of our courses, that's really helpful. Okay. All right, so that's by default. As you go forward, if you want to make more folders and organize things, I'm going to show you how to do that and add them to multiple places as well. The next topic over here, the next category, is shared with me. Now, this is just like it sounds like, is if another person shares a document with you, this is what it is. So I'm going to look at this one right here. Double click on that. I might have already added. All right, I'm gonna share a new document from my other account right here in 2 seconds. The reason why it's so important for me to show you this is when somebody shares a document with you, it doesn't mean that it's in your drive yet. Well, that's really confusing, and it is. So what that means is somebody shared with you. It's like sharing an email, sending you an email where you can see it and you're looking at it, and yes, you can edit it, but it's not actually copied into your file. So let me put a shared doc, and I'm going to share this from my other account to the one we're looking at right now. All right, so I'm sitting here, I'm working on something, this looks great, and now I'm going to go into, let's refresh here. I'm going to go to shared with me. Let's see if it's appeared yet. Refresh. While that's loading, I'll also mention here too, another kind of subcategory here is recent. And recent, just like it sounds like, it will just list the most recent things that you've been working on. So these are the most recent ones I've just been, doing things with right here. You can also, as I mentioned, if you want to go to your drive, if you want to organize things and sort them to find easier, I can sort by name right here. I can do last modified. So if I click on the last modified tab, it will reorganize as it was modified by me. Was the last opened by me? Which one was the last one opened by me? And it will resort these. It doesn't affect how it actually happens. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to find them. All right. So now if I go to the shared with me section over here on the left side, I'll notice, okay, this document was just shared with me today, right here. So I'm going to click on that. Here it is. Cool. That looks great. As it loads, now you can see I'm also in here as well. So this is my 2 accounts. I shared a document, and we've all probably done this before. We've typed things together or work synchronously. one of the things that we do with our middle school students is they have to do a project. This is an IT class, and they have to do a project where they build a robot. They build a Lego robotic kit, and their partners are from the other classes. So they actually have to work asynchronously, virtually, just like we're doing now. So they have to, communicate with each other saying, oh, I left it at step 2. Make sure you look at step 3 or whatever it is. And they have to develop this skill set around working together, but not being able to see each other face to face. So all of your kids from 7th grade on have that experience, which is pretty cool. But this is the big thing that I want to share with you up here. Now, you notice this icon up at the top here. It looks kind of like a grayed out, the little plus on it, and that's the drive system. It says add to my drive. What that means is that this document has been shared with me, and I can edit it, and I can type things, and I can work on it. But as far as actually adding it to my drive, the biggest time that would make a difference is if you want to move it into a certain folder, or if you want to have it have offline access. All I have to do is click this little icon right here. It's saying adding to my drive. Now it's added to my drive. I can click organize. And now I can move it where I want to. Let's say I want this document to go into that public work folder. I can click on this and say, yep, I want to move it here. If I want to add a new folder that I didn't have before, I can click this little icon on the left that says new folder and say, this is my docs shared with Kern. Again, no one's going to see the name of that folder except for myself. So these are my documents I've shared with my other account. Click move here and say yes. All right, so if I go, now that I've added it, I click that document up here. If I click back on my Google Drive, I'm gonna go back to my folders, look into my public work folder we just created, and I see a subfolder right here called Doc Shared with Kern, and I should have a shared document inside of that. There it is, excellent. The other thing you'll notice if I click on it, right up here, I can right click and move. Now I could move this to another folder. I could drag it. I could click right here and drag it to another folder over here. But here's the really unique thing, and this is one thing that you'd want to play with to kind of get the hang of it. These folders are not what we would traditionally consider folders. When you think about traditional computing, when I had a Mac or a PC, I had a folder on my desktop called Work. And if I dragged a document into that folder, there it lived. But if I dragged it out, it wasn't there anymore. I could have 2 copies of the same file. I could have a copy A and copy B, and they would be a copy at that point, but they wouldn't be connected to each other. If I changed one, it wouldn't change the other one. Google Drive works very differently. You want to think of it almost like tags. If I upload an image online, let's say I upload a picture to Instagram or Facebook or wherever I wanted, you can tag it with different things. I could have a picture, maybe it's of my family, and I could hashtag, my pets, my dogs with it, and my cat, and my sons, or whatever it was. You could have multiple tags that would represent that picture. In this case here, with this one document, you can have that appear in multiple places, in multiple folders. Well, why would you ever want to do that? Well, let me give you an example. Let's say a student was working on an essay, and it was for an English teacher, for the English component of it, the ELA component, but the topic was for history. So it was actually one essay that was for 2 people, for the history teacher and for the English teacher. This one document could appear in both places, under the history folder and the English folder. What you would do is right-click, go down to Move To, and somebody asked about right-clicking on a Chromebook. If you Alt-click, you can right-click, and that will, or again, a Mac or PC, or it's a little bit different. On a Mac, it's Control-click. On a PC, it's also Control-click, and then on a Chromebook, it's Alt-click. So I can choose. I just right-clicked on this, and I could choose a different folder to send it to. And if you notice here, if I want it to appear in both places, if I hold on a Mac, I'm holding the Option key. On the Chromebook, it's going to be a Control key. If I hold this down, it changes this from Move It to Add. So what that means is it's not just moving that document from one folder to another, it's actually adding it to both. So I'm going to add it to the super secret folder too. It'll be visible. Yep, that looks good. So here's the thing. In this folder, there's my shared doc, and in this folder, there's my shared doc. It's the same document. It's the same file that appears in both places. And why that's useful, as I mentioned, is if you had one assignment that one student was doing and working with two teachers or maybe a couple different teachers, that's a really easy way to do that. All right, let's keep working down the list here. That looks pretty good. I already mentioned about recent, again, just like it sounds like. Here's starred. Now, starred can be very useful. Some people totally ignore it, and that's fine, but there's a benefit for this. If you are one of those people that, you know, and you know who you are, who always kept your desktop on a computer looking totally empty, meaning that at the end of the day, all the files were off your desktop, and you had moved them to the trash or moved them to the folder you need to. You were very, organized as far as how your management of your desktop went. Well, I know that something like this probably drives you crazy, because the main My Drive file here is like just the chaos. As people share things with you, this keeps adding on, and it just keeps going and going forever. Now, the philosophy behind that from Google, the idea was that people wouldn't, organize their work for themselves because it would take too long. If you think about it, how much digital work we're getting sent to us all the time, if we spent the time it would take us to organize it as it came in, we'd probably spend as much time organizing as actually working with it, which I think that's probably the case. So one of the things the way that Google looks at it as far as the philosophy here is not that you're going to spend all the time moving things to folders, is that you're going to search for stuff. And we'll talk about search in a second. But you're going to, as files come in, you'll get the habit of searching those things and organizing that way. Well, that's fine. But let's say, for example, I want a subset of these files that will always be easily accessible to me. Well, here's what I do. If you right-click on one of your files, it could be any of them. It could be a folder. It could be a Google Doc, a slideshow, whatever. And you add to starred right here. So I'm going to add this one. You notice that little blue star here came here, and I'll do one more. I'll go into our super secret folder here, find my shared doc. I'm going to right-click on that, and I'm going to add that one to starred too. So now if I go to my starred folder on the left side, you notice these are the only two things in here now. So this can be a subset of all your different documents, the ones that you want to access most frequently, quickly. The star doesn't do anything to it. It doesn't affect the actual document itself, and it doesn't affect it for anybody else. It's just for you. It just gives you a quick way to be able to organize them for you so that you don't have to search around everywhere to find that document that you're not sure where it went. And then the last one down here, the bottom left here, is the trash, just like it sounds like. If I'm going to trash a document, let me find something that I can just throw in there to show you how that works. Okay, so you hit this undocument. If I want to delete that, I can click on it. I can come up here to this trash can icon, click on that. It actually moves into the trash. Now, it doesn't get really deleted except until after 30 days. So what that means is, right now, if I wanted to go in and undelete this or drag this back out, I can. The other thing that is worth noting is if you have students, and you do, that have Google accounts through the domain, through the school, if they delete something and they're not sure where to find it, can't find it, whatever, we can undelete all the stuff they do with their Google Drive up to 30 days. Now, what would typically happen in school, what I've seen happen before, was one student would sit down at a library computer or somewhere that was a public computer, sign in, do their work, leave, and forget to sign out. And a couple times it happened where somebody else sat down behind them and nefariously went in and said, oh, I see they're signing in as so-and-so. I'm going to delete all their stuff. And that's happened. And I'd have students coming to me crying, oh, I lost all my work, Mr. Kelly, what do we do? Now, if they use their school Google account, if it's not more than 30 days, we can click a button and they're uploaded and everything's back again, just as it was. If they use their own personal Gmail account, we really can't help them. And I had a couple students do that, and that's problematic. So it's nothing else that's really worthwhile for that purpose. All right, let me jump up here to my drive. I promise I'm going to show you some of the search features here that are really worthwhile and really important. So if I search for something, just like it looks like, I can just search for a doc. So I want to search for my one called shared doc right there, and here it pops up. Cool. That's great if I knew the name of it. But let's say I wasn't sure of the name of my document. I don't know what I called it. It's been 2 months. I can't remember. If you click over here on the right side, this little pull down, this is the advanced search, and this really gives you all kinds of features here. So for example, I can say I only want presentations, or maybe videos, or drawings, or folders. You can kind of subset it. So I'm only going to do presentations right now. Who's the owner? It could be a certain person or just not owned by me. So I'm going to say anyone for right now. Location. If you know this isn't like physical location, this is in your folders. If you know like which subfolder it's already in, you can search that. Also, date modified. If it was last 30 days, maybe it's beyond that. You can kind of, let's say, I know I did it last month, but it definitely wasn't 3 months ago. So maybe I would say, well, within the last 30 days, it should be a presentation. I can even search for, I know it has the word, Nokomis in it, or I know it has the word, something unique. You wouldn't want it too generic because that would be harder. So that will help you with that. And finally, if you know who it's shared with, you can do that as well. So these are all tools, kind of subset. I'm going to click search. Let's see what we find. I'm not sure what I'm going to find in this one. I think there's a couple presentations right here. So after this date, a presentation type, here's my list. And that will help me. And even inside of this, I would say, you know what? Okay, I only want the ones that are owner is somebody else. So I notice here, I'm going to click back up on here, go back to my advanced, and I only want ones that are owned by not me. I did not create these slideshows. Click search. I think there was one right there. So via my other account, my other Kern Kelly account, or Mr. Beach did this one. Perfect. And again, I can click on this little icon in the upper right, and I can see what they look like inside of here. And these look really good. Awesome. One other kind of little side feature here. I'm going to click on this one. You notice that these little tools, these little icons appear up here at the top. Well, what are these for? Well, these are shortcuts, kind of the same thing as right-clicking. So for example, get the shareable link. That's like if you want to share this with a specific person. Or I can click on that and share it with an individual person right here, just like we did before. The view, what it would look like to other people. Okay, that's like the published view. Okay, that's good. Trash, as we already mentioned. Move, if I want to move this from one folder to another, I click here. More details in here. Do I want to view details? Do I want to make a copy? Do I, make a copy of that slideshow, whatever it is? I'm going to keep going to the right here and click this little eye. So this little eye is interesting. This gives you the activity of what's going on. So let's say, for example, again, this is not very active because this is just a simple slideshow. But let's say you had a slideshow or an assignment that you wanted a couple of students to work on, and you just wanted to see who did what. I could just click on activity. I could see, oh, Susie worked, 6 different days on it, and Johnny worked 1. What's going on there? You can see all this kind of stuff, like what the activity has been on that slideshow or document. And even more details if you want to, when it was modified, when it was first created, all that kind of stuff over here on the little eye in the upper right. Click on that again and we'll hide it. All right. One last thing that I wanted to share about Google Drive, kind of generally. Up here, you notice a little gear in the upper right. Actually, I'm going to go back to my Drive so you can see it looks a little bit better. Let's go to my starred. Just so you know, this is, for me, my preference is I start on this page right here. If you notice up here, the actual link to it, it's drive.google.com/drive/starred. And so this is the link I start. And the reason why, when I make shortcuts, let's see if I can view my bookmarks toolbar here. Yeah, right here. So if I've got bookmarks here, and if I want to start on my Google Drive, I'll actually drag the starred folder right in here. Okay, and that's my link now. And the reason why is because I can organize what appears here or what doesn't. If I need, oh, you know what? I'm working on this public work folder a lot lately. So I want that to appear to my starred folder. I can just right-click on that. I can add it to starred. And there it is. So now I can kind of add and remove these really quickly and really easily. And that shortcut will go directly to it. But what other things can we do here? On the upper right, this little grid, this little gear here, sorry, this little gear. Click on that. Some of the settings. Okay, so 2 quick things here. 1, get Drive for desktop. This right here is just because I'm not on a Google Chromebook right now for these recording purposes. But if you were in a Chromebook, this probably wouldn't appear there. By default, it will save your Google Drive stuff on your Chromebook for offline access. So for example, if you had a student that doesn't have internet, but could go somewhere that does, let's say they could drive up outside the school close enough to have internet, they could have their work being downloaded, their Google Docs, their slides, that kind of stuff being downloaded. You don't want to be careful with videos. If I embedded a video into a Google slideshow, that's not going to necessarily download unless the student goes in and clicks on it to make sure it does. So just be careful about that. But otherwise than that, it should all download and have an offline access so the student could go home, do their work, type away, do the work, offline work, and then come back online again and it would resync up. So that is an option. Click on here on settings. All right, so here's some of my stuff. View item storage details. Again, if you're using your school account, I won't even worry about storage. It's basically unlimited. On your personal account, you can run out of storage, technically, but it's really hard to do so. Converting uploads, like I mentioned that earlier, if you upload or collect a Google or a Word document, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to automatically convert that Word document into a Google Doc document, or do you want it to ask you? I usually just leave that off because I want it to ask me. If there's a lot of formatting in that Word document, it's not going to convert very easily. Language settings, yeah, we'll leave it as it is. Density is just how narrow these things are on top of each other. So if I go back there again to settings, I can make it be really, really compact, and you'll just see that these will slide together quicker. And again, that's 100% personal preference, whatever you think you like. And then finally, some of these other things, like do you want priority to be your default homepage, that first link, or not? How do you want to manage that? Over on the left side here, notifications. Do you want to be notified? And finally, manage apps. This is that list that I mentioned that if you double click on something, if you double click on a new file, what do you want it to open it? So for example, a PDF, if I double click on a PDF, what do I want to open it? If I double click on a video, what do I want to open it? Right now, I'm saying Screencastify Video Editor is my default video viewer. If I double click on a video, that's what's going to come up. I can click options here. I can disconnect it if I want to. I can remove it, or I can go back and find more options. And you can change these anytime you want. We can also push those out. So if you have certain ones that you want your students to use, for example, if we want SketchUp for schools, actually that should be on by default. I'm not sure why that wasn't. So that students could, if they click on a 3D model, again, and not many of you are using 3D models per se, but if you wanted a certain file type that you wanted to open, we could do that, click on that, and they would all see that. I'm gonna click done. And that is our Google Drive. The last thing I'm going to share with you about Google Drive, something that's worth noting, is if I click up here at the top here, and I think I'm going to have to jump to my, I'm going to jump to my other school account right here. Okay, so the reason why I jumped over this one, because this has something that that new account doesn't have yet. It's over here on the left, and it's called shared drives. So what is a shared drive? Well, it sounds the same as a regular folder. The difference is this, is you can't create shared drives. You can be added to them. We would create them as a district. For example, the Curriculum Steering Committee has a folder. The Tech Department has a folder. Even inside of that, there are subfolders under the Curriculum Steering Committee by department or by content areas. And so you wouldn't use that, you wouldn't set that up, that would be set up for you, and you could be added as a editor or you can be added as a viewer. The purpose of that is so that when you shared video, you shared folders, files inside of that, you are not the owner of them. And the reason why that's important is if you have a file or a document that you created that you're sharing with your department, but you don't want to be tied to just your account. So let's say you're not using your account anymore, or you've moved from the district, or you're no longer working here for whatever reason. Anything that was under your account would still be under your account. But if you move things to the shared drives, that means that everybody inside of that shared drive can share it without worrying about who owns it. Again, we use this for certain things, not for everything, but there are certain pieces that make sense to make sure we use for. So that's what shared drives is. Again, you wouldn't set these up. You would talk to us, the tech department, about what you would do with it, and we would share that with you. And we have done, I think most people have done that to some degree. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. Jump back here. All right, we're getting close to time, but that went really quick. I just want to look through some questions before we jump out today. And I also want to cover our kind of question of the day, or our round to it. Okay, so one question was Screencastify Video Editor. Why do you recommend using WeVideo if you have to edit a video? Screencastify Video Editor is very simplistic, like extremely simplistic. It can trim, and that's about it. And so it's not very fully featured. WeVideo is fully featured. You can add audio, you can cut, you can add transitions, all the stuff you would expect in a standard video editor. So I wouldn't use Screencastify for big things. Maybe if I just want to trim something really quickly, probably. But if I want to do anything beyond that, anything substantial, I would use WeVideo for sure. So the thing I'm going to leave you guys today for our present screen. As far as the watermark goes for WeVideo, you can turn that off. Like I said, we do have pro versions now, so you can go into the settings and turn that right off. Let's jump over to here. Okay, so the kind of the tip of the day, or the round to it, where you hopefully have time now. I found this the other day, and I think this was either shared with me or I found it, I can't remember now, but this was a handy sample schedule. So if you have parents that are still looking for kind of sample schedules at different grade levels, I thought this was kind of cool. I know I use this, kind of an adaptation of this with my own boys. And the idea here is at different grade levels, first grade, second grade, middle school level, high school level. And they're kind of clever about it, 8 to 9 a.m., wake up, make your bed, eat breakfast, and get ready for an awesome day. And yes, change out of your PJs. So they're making kind of suggestions of different types of things you can do. You don't have to use this, obviously, but just kind of a fun place to look and reference and to use going forward as far as whether or not you're using Khan Academy or not. I thought this was kind of cool. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap it up for the day. I think it looks like that's most of the questions. We will be here, of course, tomorrow. Tomorrow's topic is going to be talking about digitizing non-digital work. If it's hand-drawn, if it's like math problems, that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about recording or maybe digitizing a piece of paper, whatever it is, getting it to your students in an easy way as possible, and also collecting that back from the other way too. So if they are creating something non-digital, how do they get it to you? And that kind of back and forth. Still using digital processes to do it, but just the easiest methods to do that. And then Friday, we will be doing Google Forms, collecting data with Google Forms. If you want to set up a quiz with your students, or if you want to set up something to be able to do that back and forth, this would be the way to do that. So with that, thank you guys all for coming. I will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of the day.